Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's always me, Francesco. Benvenuti. Okay, we are waiting for a little bit more people. So for now, I just want to tell you, of course, that this live stream, it will be completely dedicated to the difference that we can find, of course, between the Chianti Classico and the Chianti type of wine. So the Chianti appellation. So the Chianti Classico appellation versus the Chianti appellation. So of course, as always, I hope that you are doing great, and of course, I hope that everybody is okay. And of course, I'm here in Montemaggio. I have also the fireplace going on. Also, it's almost like spring. Today we had a beautiful, beautiful weather, and actually this week, it's been pretty amazing in terms of weather. I mean, we had very good temperature, and it's basically sound like spring already. So we're very excited. I really love springtime. So it's always nice to of course have this beautiful temperature around. So yeah, and I think also spring and summer are the best season for visiting the Chianti Classico area. I mean, you find the best color in the vineyards and so on. So it's very exciting. Of course, also the autumn, it's pretty charming. You find very beautiful color as well in autumn. But I think, of course, in spring and summer, it's a very exciting moment, of course. So again, welcome to everybody that are following us. Sorry, again, as always, I'm Italian. Sometimes few words are particularly difficult for Italians in English. So again, cheers, and we start the wine discussion with a little bit of a Chardonnay of Montemaggio. This wine is beautiful, really. And we have Miles Davis going on. We have a little bit of music, as you can probably hear. Let me know if it's too loud. This record is Miles in the Sky from 1968, actually. So it's one of my favorite records that is going on. So I'm so excited about today's topic. As I told you, is Chianti Classico versus Chianti. Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, really. So this topic for me, it's so important because sometimes people are quite confused, and I was also quite confused at the beginning of my journey in the world of wine, and I was not able to get the difference that you can actually find when you compare a Chianti wine versus a Chianti Classico wine. So today I prepare a bunch of different infographic and pictures to show you during this live stream, just because, of course, I want to help you to really understand the differences that, of course, we can find in Chianti Classico and Chianti Classico wine. So first of all, I hope so. I don't know if I have a very low signal. I hope that everybody is able to hear me and see me perfectly. So just let me know if you have problem of like low internet signal and whatever. Just write me in the comments. Of course, I will see it and I will try to fix it. So again, thank you so much for joining me. So we can start, I guess, with today's topic. So sometimes when we think about Chianti, we immediately think about Chianti Classico area, and that's a little bit true. But you need to know that in Tuscany region, we have 7 different Chianti area, plus the Chianti Classico area. So what's the difference? People are always confused. And as I told you, I was confused as well when I started my journey in the world of wine, because, of course, I didn't get it at first, what it was the differences. And it's quite a complicated system. The Chianti Classico is usually considered the highest level of the Chianti wine. And actually, the Chianti Classico area is basically the historical region of Chianti, so this is the oldest appellation in the world. Actually, we are born in 1716, so more than 100 years before the Bordeaux appellation. So we are literally the oldest appellation in the entire world. And usually people don't even know that. And so in my opinion, it's always so important to remind to people this thing. So Chianti, the other Chianti, they are born later compared to the Chianti Classico area, and they are just born because at a certain point the producer of Tuscany, they wanted to enlarge a little bit the Chianti appellation and to enlarge a little bit the production. So I would like to show you where we can find the other Chianti actually on the map. So I will share with you my screen. Just give me a second. Okay, I think you're able to see my screen perfectly right now. And you can see I have this map right here. So you can see we have, of course, in the blue, we find the Chianti areas, and we have in purple the Chianti Classico area. So you see that we have many different areas that are named Chianti. We have the Chianti Colli Fiorentini, Chianti Rufina, Chianti Colli Aretini, which is the Arezzo area. And we have Montalbano, Chianti Montalbano, Chianti Montespertoli, Chianti Colline Pisane, Chianti Colli Senesi. So we have many different areas that are named Chianti. And so what's the difference, the actual difference? Because I mean, we can talk for hours about every different area, every different Chianti area, and probably I will do that also in another live stream. But for now, I want to be focused on the main difference that you can find with the Chianti Classico versus all of the other Chianti areas. So the main difference is that they are located in another part of Toscana. So in those other parts of Toscana, you find other kind of climates, other kind of geological composition of the soil. You find other people, and of course, it means different style of wine. You know, I always told you during this wine discussion, during this live stream that I do, that the French people use this word, which is terroir, to describe the combination, the relationship actually between the climate, the soil, the topography of a vineyard, and the style that the winemaker chooses. So even the taste of people, even the style that the winemaker wants for his wine, it's so important. So if you go in another part of Toscana, you find totally different kind of terroir. And so the wine, it will be completely different. They are anyway, they also can be a DOCG at this point. They are, you know, I don't know if you already know the term DOC and DOCG. So it means denominazione d'origine controllata e garantita. So it means that their product is checked and guaranteed from a commission as well. So right now they are also DOCG. But you find anyway an amazing and such an important differences if you compare the Chianti Classico, so the wine we produce in this area, and the other Chianti wine you find in other areas. And again, it's also something that you can of course say it's because of course the geological composition, the climate, and so on. Not only because of the style as well, of course. So I wanted, of course, to dedicate this live stream of today also to analyze each subzone that we can find in Chianti Classico area in order to understand a little bit better the relationship that we can find, of course, between a wine and the area of the production of that specific wine. And in the next live stream, I will talk about every other Chianti area. So for today, we are discussing about the subzone of Chianti Classico, and of course, as I briefly told you the differences between Chianti Classico versus Chianti. So right now, I will share again my screen, and I will show you the subzone of Chianti Classico. Okay, there we go. So first of all, this is a map. This is a map of the Chianti Classico in the specific. You see, we have Firenze, and Siena. So the Chianti Classico is literally in between Firenze and Siena. You have many different subzones, as you can see. We have San Casciano, we have Ravencianti, we have Ravencianti, Gaiole, Castellina, Castelnuovo Berardenga, which is the Chianti Classico area. Of course, it's belonged to the Chianti Classico area, but it's really close to the Siena, to the Colli Senesi area. So the landscape is completely different. And in this live stream, we will see that also in detail. Then we have Poggibonsi, Barberino Valdese, and Tavernelle Valdelsa. So all of these are very different kind of areas, and you find different geological composition, also different climatic condition. You find also, of course, many different people, as I told you. So you find a slightly different style. Of course, it's still Chianti Classico. The style is the same. We have very strict rules. This is also another reason that it's so important when it comes about the Chianti Classico. Chianti Classico, we have such a restricted rule, and so everything is done in a very specific and a peculiar way, right? So right now we will start our journey. We will start from San Casciano in Val di Pesa. I want to show you, of course, the picture of San Casciano in Val di Pesa, of the landscape. You can see this beautiful collina, very gentle kind of collina, very gentle kind of hills. And in this area, actually, you find a very specific kind of wine, because this is an area which is in between two valleys that belongs to two different rivers. We have the Fiume Pesa, the river Pesa, and the river Greve. And San Casciano is right in the middle of these two valleys. So you have this very specific kind of soil, even kind of very specific kind of landscape. And these two different areas shares anyway the same type of terrace cultivation. So they cultivate the vineyard in this specific way, which is called terrazzo, so the terrace cultivation that I show you in the picture. And we have this kind of peculiar characteristic that is different from the rest of Chianti Classico. Thanks to the clayey scent, the wines take an elegant character, never impetuous, but nevertheless strong. So it's very peculiar, very particular to be, of course, a Chianti Classico. Of course, proceeding our journey into the Chianti Classico area, we arrived to Grameen County, which is the capital, basically, of the Chianti Classico area. And here, the wine are pretty, of course, well known. And in Grameen County, in my opinion, is the area that perhaps present the greatest variability in terms of morphology, microclimatic condition, and of course soil. The wine that are produced here have some essential elements, in my opinion, in common. And we're talking, of course, about wine that are very gentle, and the iris and the violet, so this kind of floral notes, are very prominent kind of aromas. And so, in my opinion, this area is, again, you find many different microclimate. And in general, we say that every single winery is a unique word. You find a very specific microclimate in every different winery. But again, in Greve, it's a little bit like a very unique case. So you find in every place you go something very different. Of course, again, those kind of wine have something in common, which is the floral notes, the iris and the violet. And of course, they are very gentle. Very gentle wine. So I want to tell you also about another area, which is Panzano area. Of course, Panzano, in terms of administrative boundaries, belong to the municipality of Grameen County, so it's the same comune, right? The same municipality. But in my opinion, it deserves a totally separate discussion. And this is an area where the, of course, incisive style and practical sense of the winemakers of this area, of course, allows to establish a biodistrict with a large surface of this area. And the terroir here is characterized by the prevalent galestro soil, which is this kind of soil that it's so common in Chianti Classico area, but especially in Panzano. And you find an average altitude of over 400 meters above the level of the sea. And of course, the wine here are quite refined and robust to be Chianti Classico. And the result basically is that you have excellent structure and a very deep color in the wine. So in my opinion, it's a very it's pretty impressive kind of wine, and it has a very peculiar characteristic. You find a very interesting conversation with this kind of wine, in my opinion, with the Panzano wine. So if you want to explore a little bit more the wine of Panzano, I really recommend you, of course, to do it because they are very peculiar. I want to show you a picture of Panzano if you want. Okay, this is Panzano landscape. Again, this is of course an amazing picture that I found. You see those beautiful color, and I think it's full here, and you see this beautiful panorama. That's the reason why I wanted to show you to you this picture. Ciao Kata. Thank you so much for the comment. I hope you're doing great. So of course, next area we find proceeding southwards. This time we met, of course, the territory of Ravencianti, which is characterized by an average altitude of 400-500 meters, and Ravencianti area it's very high altitude area, and you find very specific wine. And in my opinion, the Sangiovese we produce here, the Chianti Classico, and then we produce in this area. By the way, Ravencianti is the area where you find Montemagno, so we belong to Ravencianti area. My opinion is, personally, it's my favorite. Of course, I don't want to, wine is a personal thing. So, but it's my favorite. It's my favorite area because you find this kind of very fine, elegant kind of wine in this area, and this is something that belongs also to this tradition, but it's because of the altitude of this area. We have, of course, colder climate here, and generally speaking, when you have colder climate, you usually have a slightly lower sugar production into the grapes, and then, of course, the wine that you will produce in that specific area, it will be very elegant, very fine, and it will be like so velvety in your mouth. That's the reason why I enjoy so much the Ravencianti wine. And again, as I told you, it's characterized by an average altitude of 500 meters. Of course, you got Galestro, you got the sandy soil. And the wine here, as I told you, are of extreme finesse, beautiful acidity, freshness. In my opinion, of course, the acidity you find in a Chianti Classico from Ravencianti area are unique. Freshness, elegant kind of wine. And of course, those kind of wine are wine that you can take your time, of course, with this kind of wine. I mean, you can give to this wine the chance to mature a little bit more. Last time we spoke about how we should age the wine, right? So Ravencianti, you can of course wait a lot to see how the wine it will be at a certain point, to see how the wine will mature in a few years. And actually, in my opinion, it's necessary because those kind of wine are giving you the best after a few years. It's like when you compare, when you look at your past and you compare the younger version of you with the older one. Of course, the older one will be very mature, very wise, hopefully very wise, and so on. So with this kind of wine, you can really wait for the wiser and mature version without no problem. And actually, you find again the best version of those kind of wine after a few years. Of course, in my opinion, this characteristic that you find in Ravencianti area of course, beautiful acidity, finesse, and elegant kind of wine. It's something you can find also in Lamole. So Lamole, it's of course a little bit close to this area, and you find, of course, good altitude as well here. They have the terrace cultivation as well as the San Casciano, but of course the altitude it's different. It's higher. We are over than 600 meters above the level of the sea, and this is something that we must specify. In fact, the vineyard in this area are entirely like built up this altitude, and both in I mean, if you go in La Mole, of course you find like in those kind of wineries vineyards that are completely exposed to solatio, and so of course you find also this characteristic that give to the wine this kind of uniqueness, and that's something very important for me. We have another comment, Katerina. Great topic today, beautiful picture of the landscape. Thank you so much. I of course tried to find the best wine, or at least the one that I thought were the best of the or at least the most representative of those kind of areas. So proceeding, of course, we will find, of course, the Castellini and Chianti. But before I want to show you, of course, a picture that, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful picture of the Chianti Classico area, and it's a picture of Monte Maggio, and you can really see the landscape that we have here, so you understand a little bit better also how the vineyard are here. So I want to show you my screen. I want to share with you my screen again. So as you can see, we are quite high as a position. Of course, we have this beautiful landscape, and it's quite suggestive, in my opinion. We have, of course, also this beautiful color. This is one of my favorite picture of Monte Maggio, and yeah, that's the reason why I wanted to show you. So, of course, we are going to talk about Castellini and Chianti. Castellini and Chianti is characterized by a soil derived from marly limestone of the Alberese that give fresher wine, and of course, in the southern part, you have the marly clays, and of course, you find wine that are much more, let's say, you find greater body, and of course, if you want, we can also say that they are sweeter, not like the Serre wine, but they are sweeter in general. Like you find this kind of like probably fruity notes in this kind of wine, and so yeah, it's a bit more important in terms of sweetness. So. Proceeding, we find also the area of Gaiole, and of course in Gaiole you find few different, of course, things. First of all, the climate is a bit different compared to Castellina, and of course as well Radda. So wine are usually a bit more important, but of course they're still quite elegant. Right now, of course, we are arriving in our journey. Of course, I'm imagining to have like a little journey for the entire Chianti with you, and I want to show you the Castelnuovo Berardenga. Of course, Castelnuovo Berardenga, in my opinion, it's very interesting kind of area for the wine production, because it's the area of Chianti Classico, which is closest to the Colli Senesi area, so it's totally different kind of landscape. So first of all, I want to show you the landscape of Castelnuovo Berardenga. So you can see immediately that the landscape and also a little bit the kind of cultivation is different. This picture, by the way, it's so beautiful, really so beautiful. But you really can see that the landscape, it's very different. So here we are actually, as I told you, this is the extreme border of the south of the Chianti Classico territory, and we are almost in the Senesi land. And of course, if we talk about the purely geological scenario, we have the most variegated one. Of course, again, it's a borderland, so that's the reason why we have, of course, the hills of Chianti Classico. Let's say are let's say more say a bit higher and so on. So here we have a scenario that it's more typical of the Senesi landscape. The wine here takes another character of fullness and depth. You have this kind of beautiful flavor, you have hints of darker fruit, and of course the floral characteristic here is much less accentuated. And so you find all of those differences that are so peculiar, and you can also perceive that those kind of wine come from a slightly different, also in my opinion, tradition. So you have, of course, the Chianti Classico typical style, but of course you have a little bit of other kind of characteristic that come from another kind of tradition. In my opinion, it's the perfect like combination. I really like, of course, crossover sometimes. When it comes about wine, I really like when different kind of like conception wine are fused together. So this is very, very interesting kind of wine for this reason. So again, these are more or less all of the different subzones of the Chianti Classico area. And you can find, of course, this kind of description probably, let's say, we can say that these are like some kind of introduction for you to the differences you can find in all of the different subzones. But the best way to understand all of the differences between all of the different subzones of the Chianti Classico areas is just to go and try all of the wine of this area. So, as I told you, wine is a personal thing. I'm telling you this since the start of this live stream, and so just try the wine of all of these different areas, and then of course you will understand a little bit better. Mine are just, of course, some kind of let's say ideas that I have about those kind of wines from all of these different areas, and you, of course, you can try those kind of wine, and you can build up your own ideas. Going back to the title of this discussion, of course, which was Chianti versus Chianti Classico area. As I told you, the difference is that the Chianti Classico is located in a totally different areas compared to the other Chianti. And I think today you understood that even in the Chianti Classico itself, you find such a tremendous differences when it comes about all of the different subzones. So in the next live stream, we will talk about each Chianti area. So Chianti Colle Senesi, Chianti Rufina, Chianti Colle Fiorentino, and so on. We will see all of the differences as we did today for the Chianti Classico, subzones. Again, the best way to understand a wine region is just to go and try all of the different subzones, all of the different wines. And again, even when you tried, let's say, one wine from each different subzone, you need to remember that every winery is a unique word. Everybody do the wine in a very personal way. So especially when you are a small boutique winery as we are, so we produce such a small quantity of wine. We produce around 23,000 bottles per each vintage. So we have this kind of possibility of like giving, we can give to the wine the touch that we want, a very personal kind of touch, and our interpretation of the Chianti Classico style of wine. So every winery is so unique, especially when you find a boutique winery as we are. So I would really suggest you also to go in very small place, in very small wineries, to understand a little bit better what I mean by very unique kind of wine. So of course, if you want to come here to Montemaggio, when of course we will have the possibility to meet each other in person again, of course you will be very, very welcome. So feel free to ask me questions if you have, of course. I see that Daniel wrote another comment. So he says, lovely. Thank you so much. Of course, I hope that everybody enjoyed this topic. Of course, I know probably it's kind of complicated topic, but I try to make it simple and to simplify a little bit this concept. It's so difficult sometimes to explain to you that, of course, you're not drinking all of the wine from all of these different areas. So sometimes it's difficult to explain you just using words all of the differences of different subzones of a wine region. But again, mine are just, of course, like an introduction. It's just like an introduction for you. And then, of course, if you want, you can explore in a very conscious way at this point, I guess, the different subzones of the Chianti Classico area. So again, as I was telling you, if you want, you can let us know if you want, of course, you know a little bit more about specific topics. So in the next live streams, I will cover this topic. I will chat about this topic. And again, if you want, if you have question, just feel free to make to have a question, to ask me a question. And of course, I will try, of course, to reply. And again, I'm here for this, so it's just like very very important thing. If you write me a question, of course, I will be able to reply. We have a comment. So Ekaterina, yes, cannot wait to visit soon. So of course you will be so welcome here. So whenever you will be able to come here, you'll be very welcome. Thank you very much, Ekaterina, for your comment. So for today, I think it's everything. And again, of course, we will post the replay, as we always do, of this live stream. You can write to us in the comment if you want to know a little bit more about certain kind of topic, and I will try, of course, to dedicate a live stream to the topic you are suggesting to us. So thank you so much, of course, to joining us today. I want to remind you that we have a Facebook group which is different from our Facebook page. We post a little bit more private kind of. It's more like a private thing. I mean, we're more like a family, so we can share different kind of things. So of course, if you want to joining the group, just send us the notification. Of course, we will accept you. So thank you very much for joining us, and again, see you next time. Thank you so much. Peace. Ciao.